Before LaMelo Ball ever played a single NBA game, the scouting reports were already stacked against him. Too casual, not athletic enough, plays like he's still in high school. His style is fun to watch, but it doesn't win games. Those weren't comments from an anonymous account on social media. Those were real evaluations from real scouts attached to a real NBA prospect.
Just an average athlete. Doesn't show any real consistent toughness. Plays like he's in high school. His style doesn't translate to wins.
Yeah, look at this, LaMelo. Look at the dance right here. Sounds like, okay, will you shoot it? I'm tired of getting embarrassed on the perimeter.
No-look pass, every one-legged pull-up from 30 feet. Every moment that looked more like a street ball highlight than a playoff possession. All of it was used as evidence that LaMelo Ball would never translate into a winning player. Fast forward to right now. The Charlotte Hornets just rattled off 9 consecutive wins. LaMelo starting 5 is posting the highest net rating of any 5-man unit in the entire league. Better than Oklahoma City, better than Denver. Better than the 2017 Golden State Warriors death lineup at its absolute peak. The NBA thought it had LaMelo figured out. It didn't. And now the whole league is adjusting to him, not the other way around.
To understand why what's happening right now matters so much, you have to start at the beginning, because LaMelo's path to the NBA was unlike anything the league had seen before. The modern pipeline for elite prospects ran almost exclusively through college basketball. You dominate in high school, you commit to a powerhouse program, you spend a year on campus building your draft stock, and then you declare. The NCAA was the mandatory checkpoint. If you were serious about making it, that was the route. LaMelo didn't follow that script at Chino Hills, playing alongside his brothers. He was part of one of the most dominant high school programs in recent memory, a team that went undefeated and knocked off national powerhouses along the way. Even as a freshman, his ball handling, vision, and confidence stood out. As a sophomore, he dropped 92 points in a single high school game, a performance that went viral overnight but also immediately sparked criticism. Charles Barkley publicly questioned whether the production was meaningful or just stat padding against inferior competition. That dynamic, extraordinary achievement followed immediately by dismissal, would become the theme of his entire pre-NBA career. In 2017, rather than complete his high school career, LaMelo left to sign professionally in Lithuania alongside his brother. The results were rough. The team won just 8 games across competitive league play. LaMelo struggled to score, and the defensive concerns that would follow him for years were on full display. Most NBA scouts didn't even bother making the trip to evaluate him in person after Lithuania. He played 11 games in a startup league his father founded, a league that was widely criticized for the level of competition. The numbers looked enormous, but they meant very little to the front offices that mattered. He then returned to the prep circuit in Ohio to try to rebuild his scouting visibility, but the damage was done. His NCAA eligibility was gone, which meant he'd be locked out of high-profile showcases where executives typically get their extended first looks at elite prospects. For most NBA front offices, LaMelo was still largely a mystery at this point, a teenage celebrity with more viral highlights than legitimate live evaluations. With no conventional options left, he made one more unconventional choice. Signing with a professional team in Australia's NBL, no family involvement, no spectacle, just professional basketball against grown men. And it worked. Across 16 games, he averaged 16 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists in around 30 minutes per game, with a healthy assist-to-turnover ratio and immediate impact on winning. He was 18 years old, thriving against professionals. And in the span of a few months, he jumped more than 20 spots in mock drafts. Scouts who had written him off were suddenly calling him a top 3 talent. On draft night, Charlotte selected him 3rd overall, making him the highest selected American-born player to skip college entirely for professional development overseas.
He wasted no time proving he belonged. As a rookie, he averaged over 15 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists in under 30 minutes per game, leading all first-year players in assists and steals while finishing near the top in scoring and rebounding. He took home the 2021 Rookie of the Year award and looked like he was just getting started. His second season was even better. Through his first 47 games, he was averaging close to 20 points, 7 rebounds, and 7.5 assists, earning his first All-Star selection and looking like a player on the verge of making the jump from All-Star to All-NBA. Then his body started breaking down. The injury problems began in the 2022-23 preseason with an ankle sprain that delayed the start of his year. He returned, re-injured the same ankle almost immediately after stepping on someone courtside, then sprained it again weeks later when a teammate landed on him. Then in February came the worst of it, a fractured right ankle that required surgery and ended his season after just 36 games. He came back the following year looking explosive, posted nearly 26 points per game through his first 14 games. Then the repaired ankle flared up again and he missed another extended stretch. He finished that season, having played just 22 total games. By 2024-25, the injury list had expanded beyond his ankles. A calf strain, recurring ankle soreness, wrist issues, minutes restrictions, short stints, constant recovery cycles. What had looked like a clear superstar ascent had become flashes of brilliance, interrupted over and over again. The numbers told the story bluntly. In his first 2 seasons, he was available for over 80% of his team's games. In the 3 seasons that followed, that availability collapsed to around 43%. For his career overall, he had only appeared in about 57% of possible games. The critics weren't wrong about the absence problem. When he missed time, the Hornets lost, and Charlotte went through one of the worst 3-year stretches in the franchise's history. The contract, $260 million, started looking like a real risk.
When LaMelo returned for the 2025-26 season, the Hornets approached things differently. Minutes restrictions, load management. At points, bringing him off the bench so he could be fresh and aggressive in fourth quarters rather than worn down by the time games were decided. LaMelo bought in. The goal was preservation, and it showed in how the season unfolded. Charlotte started slow, struggling through the early months while still managing his availability carefully. Then in January, with the team healthier and the rotation settled, everything clicked, a blowout win over Orlando, holding Philadelphia to under 100 points. A clutch win over Dallas, a defensive masterclass against one of the league's best players, wins over Denver and Houston, 9 straight victories, and even after the streak snapped, the Hornets had gone 10-1 in their last 11 games. During that stretch, LaMelo averaged close to 19 points, nearly 7 assists, and 4 rebounds. But the numbers were almost secondary to what the team was becoming. There was a pace to Charlotte's offense, a control, an identity that simply didn't exist in his absence.
Here's where the story moves from impressive to historically significant. Since LaMelo returned to the lineup in December, with the core of the team healthy and playing together consistently, Charlotte has posted one of the top 7 net ratings in the entire NBA. That alone is remarkable for a franchise that had won fewer than 30 games in each of the previous 3 seasons. But here's the number that should make every team in the playoff picture pay attention: the starting lineup of LaMelo Ball, along with Brandon Miller, Tidjane Salaun, Mark Williams, and Moussa Diabate, has logged over 120 minutes together, and in that time has put up a net rating of plus 25.8. That's not just the best mark among all 5-man units in the league that have played at least 100 minutes together. It's better than Oklahoma City's best unit at plus 25, better Denver's at plus 20, and better than the 2017 Golden State Warriors death lineup, which peaked at around plus 22. Dig even deeper and it gets more striking. Among 5-man groups with at least 250 possessions together, Charlotte's starting unit holds the best net rating differential in the league, more efficient than anything Boston, OKC, Denver, or any other contender can put on the floor. When that starting fight and call votes games together, the Hornets are 16-1.
The whole conversation around LaMelo has always come back to style, the one-legged threes, the no-look passes that look like they belong on a playground, the looseness that reads as careless. Critics have argued for years that this style is fun to watch but fundamentally incompatible with winning basketball. Robert Horry put the most pointed version of the criticism on his podcast recently, questioning whether LaMelo takes the game seriously enough to be a franchise cornerstone, and whether that attitude trickles down to the players around him. On the other side, Iman Shumpert made waves when he said he doesn't see a difference between how LaMelo plays and how Shai Gilgeous-Alexander plays. He later clarified it wasn't a direct comparison. What he saw was the early signs of a team beginning to organize around a decision-maker, a willing passer, a player willing to take the critical shot. And he pointed out that there was a time when people questioned whether SGA's game would translate into winning either, until the supporting cast around him leveled up, and the narrative had no choice but to change. Statistically, the anti-LaMelo narrative was never as strong as it sounded. Across his career, the Hornets have won roughly 42% of games when he's played, meaningful for a roster that, around him, has frequently been one of the weakest in the league. When he's on the floor, Charlotte's offensive efficiency rises significantly. When he's off it, the offense drops to a level that would place them near the bottom of the league. The advanced numbers are consistent across multiple years. LaMelo is one of the most impactful offensive players in basketball. The problem was never his ability to impact the game, it was his ability to stay in it. Now, with sustained health for the first time since his second season, and a supporting cast in Miller, Salon, Williams, and Diabate that can actually hold up around him, the argument that his style doesn't translate looks increasingly impossible to defend. He stretches defenses from near half-court. He manipulates coverage with subtle reads that open lanes for cutters and shooters before the defense can recover. His 6'7" frame lets him thread passes over and around defenders who never see them coming. He creates offense in ways that most point guards simply can't, and it's working. That's the part that skeptics missed. They assumed LaMelo would eventually have to dial back the creativity, simplify his game, become something more conventional to succeed at this level. Instead, it turns out the NBA is the one adjusting, trying to find answers for a style of play it never fully prepared for.
The honest summary of LaMelo Ball's career to this point is this. Every time someone tried to put a ceiling on him, whether through a scouting report at age 18, an injury narrative at 22, or a dismissal of his maturity at 24, he came back and played even more like himself. The Hornets aren't winning in spite of who LaMelo is. They're winning because of it. Now the question is whether Charlotte can turn this momentum into a real playoff run. After years of lottery seasons and injury interruptions, the Hornets are sitting in the play-in picture with a team that, on its best nights,